Hi there everybody, my name is Kate and welcome to my channel, Fire Horse Academy, used to be known as Trinergy Awakens Naturally. Welcome. I'd like to talk to you today about something I speak on pretty frequently. I work with federal inmates on the regular, and today I was in there with them and I decided I was going to try something different with them because we'd hit kind of a sloggy point just with our schedules, with life, with, whatever their cycles are in the institution in which they live, that mine are, that the staff, we all are in this kind of boggy, soggy cycle sometimes. And the weather's been very strange. It's cold today and hot 2 days ago, etc. So the shifts have been pretty dramatic. And we had a little bit of a bump with the facility being closed down for security reasons for at least 1 or 2 weeks or something. So we hit just kind of some spots that seemed very rough. And so as I was preparing today and thinking about the class, we're winding down to the last few, and I don't want to end on that. I don't want to end on that. We had kind of a bumpy ride as far as our scheduling goes, and I don't want to leave, the last few classes to be jamming in information, etc., or to be cramming in something that, they may or may not remember. Let me get something that's more fun, that I can introduce the lesson, in a way that might introduce what I'm trying to say, as well as give them an opportunity to relax and play and allow their system to just chill with what we're going to talk about today. And so I stopped at the store before I got there and I picked up some Play-Doh. And I also got some stickers, and I always take a big giant coloring book with some markers and things, that if they want the page out of the coloring book, they can take that. I even have a couple that want to color the front of it, but most of the time paper is a premium, and so to get a large piece of paper, they're usually going to draw on the other side of it. But I've had federal inmates that come and ask me if they can pull a couple of pictures out because they have grandchildren, or they have a new daughter, or they have someone that they want to share a picture with. I had an Avenger coloring book last week that one of them came and said that his son, he wanted to take one of the pictures so that he could send it to his son. So you just never know. But anyway, 234 just passed. That's part of what fun we had today was in being able to say all of those things about the stories of what happens to people when they're given an opportunity to relax a few minutes and let the hair down. You see something far more beautiful about them, no matter who they are, bar none. And so anyway, when I got there, I brought all the Play-Doh in, and I'd made a video. I don't remember, either yesterday or today, I can't remember. There's quite a number that have been flying around, but I made a video about cosmic clay versus Play-Doh, the clay dough of life versus the Play-Doh of 3D. The vitality of life is that clay dough, and that's the clay dough of me and of you. It's the same, juicy etheric substance that we all have. It's a matter of how we're going to craft that, forge that, move that, understand that, and groove that, And so to me, I wanted to represent to them what that other video said. And briefly, it was just a matter of saying that if you're going to be extruded as your own substance, that becomes the managed substance of somebody else right from birth. That's the story for most of us, that survived. We had to have somebody showing us how to do that and how to be alive. So when we're being extruded through somebody else's shape, somebody else's little, squish through, that means that the Play-Doh of us gets extruded through a very certain mold and a very certain fit, a very certain look that's expected to be extruded from the other side in that shape. And when we're pushed through those extruders, and on top of it, we are also forced to take on the colors of everybody else. Because they're gray, I have to be gray. I used to be blue, or I used to be yellow, or I used to be red. I used to be a more pure color of me. However, because I've been extruded and mashed through this very narrow corridor of information about my bloodline, my family name, my family trauma, whatever, my starseed nation, whatever it is that we've been extruded through. If we're happy with the extrusion, that's great, that's wonderful. However, most of us are on the other side looking at the extruded mess we have and saying, oh my goodness, what do we do now? And so when we're mushed through that though, and we mush all of our colors together, we all just turn into one big enmeshed giant glob of the Play-Doh. Instead of having individual colors, which can never be separated again in Play-Doh, thank goodness in cosmic dough it's very easy to do. Well, maybe not easy. It is doable to move all that stuff out. However, think about the gray clump of Play-Doh is like a karmic wad. It's like a karmic binding of some kind, a karmic clump. That's how I see that, is that's like we've been extruded through some spot where we've mashed together and we've just become this karmic blob. And so it isn't that we have to say, oh my goodness, there's nothing we can do. I've been, extruded and made into a blob, because we have Play-Doh as our basic manifestation of us. We can reshape our Play-Doh. We do not have to play with the stuff that's bound by earth and earth rules and stand in the lines when we color. We do use our mind to think far outside of boxes, and that will open up the extraordinary boxes here on earth. The wildest we think up, as above, then it comes in the way that can be done here logistically to cover all of the aspects of, what 3D in the laws of physics will support. However, anything that can be supported here is doable here. And the only thing that's keeping us from that is the fear that we have to extrude it a certain way, or that we're only entitled to it if we have been extruded a certain way, that there is a group of people, there are groups of people who are special, and it's probably not me because I already don't have it. We have 1,000,001 reasons why we're all in the place standing where we are. There's no one that's good, bad, or otherwise. It's a matter of how we're here experiencing this lifetime together, commiserately with one another. And there are those of us who would say, well, looks to me that the harsh way of doing that journey is just something that really wasn't fun, and I'm okay with never doing it that way again, and not really hanging out with anybody who does. Not a matter of stanking on the whole entire process, or stanking on individual people, or even clumps of NPCs or Hylix, people that are still plugged into the matrix. It's not a matter of stanking on that. It's a matter of saying that good, bad, or otherwise, that is not something that feels good to me. Your experience, if you're calling it good, I'm going to say okay, and never look that way again, because it's none of my business. And when I make no assumption about it, I have no vote, I have no anything, then I put no energetic stamp on it. I put no imbalance in it with my opinion. I don't bring any misjudgment to it or misalignment to it. I just simply excuse it and keep it moving, and come back over here to what I'm about, which is to, continue to feed that part of me that understands my own true color within me, that can never be extruded, that Play-Doh, when it's all mashed together, can't be separated. However, our own Zhuzh, we absolutely go up into the gray. We go up into, absorbed into nothingness, and our identities of all kinds go away. However, for as long as we're using identities and we're using labels, we might as well use the purest label or category of us that we possibly can, which is the best version of us. And that happens by cleansing all of our Play-Doh, cleansing where we've had somebody else's fingers in our on our wheel and mushing our clay around. Cleanse those places where somebody threw shards of glass or did something nasty or unseemly in our studio. We have to cleanse that, and it's okay, because it's through the process of creating that we cleanse that karma and that imbalance away. That is a very potent way to do that, because it opens up the doorway. Just like I saw today with these gentlemen, it opens up the doorway when we involve both hands in a creative process that has nothing to do with logic. It taps into a whole other part of the brain that is, our child magical lives over there. And when we can help child magical to feel safe and give that child a place to find safety, and it is actually safe, there is no trouble in finding little children giggling, in the middle of a state penitentiary, or a federal penitentiary today. Me and 10 federal inmates giggling as we're playing away with Play-Doh and talking about, these things, and being extruded and mashing our pieces together. And, I had to make something with it. And I said, okay, well, how would you feel if we just push all this together, take all your beautiful little creations you've made here, and just mash them all together and squish it into one ball. Would that be all right with you? And then we'll extrude it through that little thingy because it says F on your forehead, felon. That sounds like what you deserve. What do you think? And the, the look was precious, but we giggled, we laughed, and we giggled at the hysterical reference that we're literally being mushed together and extruded through a system that is designed to strip our colors, designed to make us either blind to color or be very, very dedicated to my magenta, and I refuse to acknowledge that any other color exists. All other colors exist, and I want to be able to know that I'm safe to exist within them without having to extrude out as one singular color of them, whatever them is. Sure, I don't want to be absorbed into it like that. If it's, something I still can't identify, yeah, I'm going to need to go up here. I'll go high. You go low. I'm going to go high. But if it's something where I have to be extruded that direction, it's not most precious. I don't remember what I was saying, but that certainly works. That the faces today, that might be where I was trying to land. The faces today were hilarious as we're talking about the ways that we've had, flecks of yellow in the middle of our 1111, our red, and we weren't thinking about making orange, that where we've had some color interrupt ours, or where somebody's mashed their broken heart. Let me just, rip that out and put it over here on you. Let me just stick that right to you and put it on your Play-Doh, and you carry that around for me, would you? Do you mind? Yeah, you don't mind. I'm sure you don't, because that's how I'm going to extrude you. And, we get bigger and bigger and bigger in our thickness of karma as we're extruding through these experiences and taking on more karma, more gray, more of the layers of stuff that if we just went away and separated, we would not be subject to all the extra layering of this same patterning. This pattern is coming up numerous times, whatever it is that takes us away from that creative Zhuzh, that child magical that can play, on a Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday morning at a federal penitentiary where, grown men who have done some pretty unseemly things that are not held well in polite society are giggling and playing with Play-Doh, remembering a better part of themselves before 12/21, the ghetto or their gang or their violent past or their history or their trauma, the drama or their bullshit, whatever their story is, whatever mine is. Neither one of us, we didn't care, because the group of us, we were just enjoying that sweet, innocent time. I don't care where we are. The time in that room was very innocent and pure. It was like 10 little kids, 12 little kids just playing around and giggling and laughing. And they had inside jokes that were healthy, and they make jokes with me and the staff that sits with me. It's an exchange that's wholesome. There's no nasty, there's no gross. And it's amazing to watch how almost instantly they'll click into that place of remembrance of their divinity. And when I said, this is the magical place from which you rewrite your story, this is where you pick up your face, right here, as you remember how it feels here. And even though I can't leave the Play-Doh here, leave with you instead the knowing that that little boy inside of you has to be fed. Please feed him. Please feed that part inside of you that's calling to you to say, nourish me with something more interesting than that bullshit on TV. I don't want to watch the news. I don't want to watch the stock market. I don't want to know what's happening in upside down Idaho or wherever it would be. I don't want to know where anything is, except where is the Zhuzh of me? What creative skill can I be perfecting inside of me? What can I make up in my mind and memorize? How can I use my mind to articulate the architect that's going to change my mind for me? When I get so well trained that I have the architect and the engineer moving together inside of me, I am manifesting out here in a very powerful way with divinity, straight, letting it happen in a flow. And that was so amazing today that I had to share that, to know that there's such great hope when I go into very dark places. And federal prison is hardly the only place I've ever been of dark nature to help people, and it's certainly not ending there. Even still, I go into dark places with people because that's a special gift of mine, and it's even more of a gift to see them find their own divine and be reminded that that's you. I didn't do that. You did that. We merely set the scene for safety and success, and we set it for success by setting it for safety first. This has been introduced, to you as if you'd like to, and not one person turned it down because their soul calls. Our soul calls for us to heal, to move, and to feel. And when we run away from that, it's okay. It doesn't work for me, and I will have to go away. However, it's neither good, bad, or otherwise. Technically, in the energy, there's a positive and a negative experience of that. However, it's neither good nor bad. It's a matter of it experiences in my world as something that I don't care to repeat, endlessly. So I look to cease and desist on anything that used to drive me, into the Play-Doh extrusion, because I've forgotten to keep myself in my Mickey's lab where I belong, with my own zhuzh, and not worried about that gray stuff over there. That gray stuff doesn't get a vote when I'm over here working with fine china or fine porcelain or whatever fine thing you might be blowing glass, It's not the same. Everybody's gray stuff looks the same, it extrudes the same, and it pretty much acts the same. So because it's coming from one Play-Doh brain. So the zhuzh of a creative space as your own magician means that you are the master of all that clay, and the clay can never look like anybody else's because you're designing it in no way particular except the one that feeds and nourishes that child magical, the most pure state of you. That's the part to bring in the most brilliance for you and through you. So anyway, take care of yourself and enjoy your day no matter what part of the day you're in, and remember to get within your skin because you're divine. It's absolutely gorgeous, it's lovely, and it probably would love to play with some Play-Doh. If you've got something that you can nourish your soul with, some fun times, some bubbles, some balloons, whatever, dancing, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be an activity that costs money. As a matter of fact, it's better when it doesn't. It's just the joy of, filled with joy to be alive. I remember when I was 3, I remember when I was 4, I remember when I would bounce, whatever it was. Go back to the earliest memory you can find of you being in delight and recreate that, even if it's for, 15 seconds in your bathroom, until you get strong enough and have so much fun that you don't care who's looking. You'll strap on a pair of roller skates and be rolling down the road or surfing or, biking or doing whatever, things that maybe it's been a long time since you picked up the paintbrush of your life, and today's the day. I hope it is for you. Make it that way for you every day. Once you do, it's a lot of fun, and it's nice to join you on that journey. So anyway, take care of yourself, as I said, and I'll see you again next time. Bye, friends. Mwah.